if you got a girl, don't mean no disrespect, but thoughts of you rule my world. I even dream of you, I swear.
Hi everyone, welcome to Happy Hour
Visions of
Talks.
you
My name is
every
Ruth,
And I'm China.
and today's episode we're going to be talking all things politics. We usually don't really get into just political conversations, but we just felt it was the time. It's 2024. Presidential elections are coming up in November. So, because we have a voice, why not use it? So, China, have you been keeping up with the presidential candidates, primary elections, all of that?
Only a little bit. Honestly, sometimes I feel like even though it's important to stay informed, like being too in the news sometimes gets me a little overwhelmed. So only a little bit. I've been looking at the Democratic options that we have in Biden and Marianne Williamson. And it seems like there's been a little ruckus on the Republican side of who's going to be their candidates, but I guess we will just end up seeing. What about you?
Yeah, so before this episode, I did a little bit of research because I will admit I'm pretty ignorant to politics. And it's because, like, where am I supposed to get news? I'm supposed to, like, research CNN and all of these things. And I'm just like, I just need one platform and give me, the information that's going on. But um, when I did my research, primary elections are coming up. It typically occurs 6 to 9 months before the presidential elections, and primary elections are very important, guys. This is what determines who is voted for your particular party, so you can select them to either be president or not to be president. But you mentioned the Republican Party. I was very surprised to see that Trump is leading the Republican votes. I don't know what to call that, but I was very shocked to see it because I'm like, is he not supposed to be in jail, paying taxes? What's going on?
No, I was wondering that too. I'm like, can he even? I mean, he's just been charged. He's on trial. Is he even allowed to do that? What type of unprecedented mess are we seeing? But yeah, I saw that too. Whether we like it or not, his popularity continues to, it's like it goes in waves, but it's still enough to be able to capture the main Republican nomination. So I won't be surprised if he is a Republican candidate, but I'm still wondering about the legalities. Like, he's going to be halfway into campaigning. Well, he's already been campaigning, but he's going to be on the campaign trail and then get locked up by the by the authorities. So goodness.
We talk about this all the time. America is kind of ghetto, but we know that by now. One thing about Trump, though, I feel like a lot of people, we clown him, we laugh about him, thinking he's not going to get votes. But secretly, people that we know are voting for him. So that's the tea that we're currently in. But in terms of primary elections, again, you have to register to vote. And that's the thing. When I went to college, I didn't know you had to register to vote. I just thought, like, you turn 18 when it comes down to November, you just go and choose the president that you want, but you have to register to do that. So if you haven't done so yet, register, register, register. And we did mention the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, but there are other parties out there like the Green Party. So I did again my research, and the Green Party seems kind of, it makes sense. They are pro, like, being environmental friendly. They do not like any racial discriminations. They are not into war, and I'm like, these are very much Gen Z ideology, and I'm not sure if people know about the Green Party. So you have any information there?
For sure. I guess I always thought of it as a newer party and still more of like a marginalized party. I think one thing about like the political spectrum, if you have Republicans, and then you have far right, and then you have like moderate, and then you have Democrat, and then you have far left. I think of Green Party being a little bit past Democrat, more on the leftist side. So I think that's kind of been the main problem, is that people really do like moderation when it comes to like being progressive. It's like you can't move forward. You can't move the people forward too quickly. They have to do it into steps. So while I think of Green Party as a good party, I think it's going to take time for them to become maybe a major party in the future. So yeah, I like the idea of it. I just think that most people aren't ready. Maybe when Gen Z is and Gen Alpha start to get a lot more older, then they will become the main party because we are a, how do you say it? We are a more progressive generation. We're a nicer generation. We're more, I don't know if it's sympathetic or empathetic, but yeah, we care a little bit more. So we'll see.
And I don't know if you can relate, but during school, especially high school, I just thought that the Green parties were like weird. This is so ignorant of me, but like they just made the Green Party seem like so obscure compared to like the Democratic and Republican Party for some reason. It was just barely touched upon. So doing my research now, I'm like, okay, like Green Party, they make sense. So yeah.
For sure. And there's libertarian and there's independent. There's like several parties that I just feel like there's not enough, like, I don't know, media coverage. I mean, you might learn about them briefly in like your government class in high school, but we don't know enough about them. And I think if we did learn more about them, I think they would be able to pull more votes, but we just don't know enough. Sometimes, I'm not going to lie, in the past I've been annoyed with those parties because I've thought of them as like taking away votes that we might need for the Democratic Party, but in general, they've never made a super huge impact, so I never had to worry that much.
Speaking of, do you think our individual votes matter? I know this is a topic that we have had for so many like years now, but you know how we vote people like in office to represent us, and like in the end, some of our voting might not determine the outcome. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. So we have the Electoral College, and we have votes within the Electoral College assigned based on population, right? Just state by state. So we can vote all we want. At the end of the day, if the members of the Electoral College just decide that actually we're going to vote this way, or we're going to continue to vote how we always been voting, then it doesn't matter, right? So do I think our votes matter? A little bit, because the House of Representatives and Senate, they want to get elected again, so they don't want to do anything to piss us off. They're going to do what they can to try to keep us happy, but at the end of the day, they are the ones. It's their what is the number, 433? Who's first to 270, I guess, when it comes to the amount of electoral votes. So like whoever gets there first gets there first. So they're not looking at the 300 million people in the US and how many ever of us are actually voting. They're looking at who's going to get to 270 first.
Exactly. And you made a great point about some states having higher electoral colleges compared to others. So we are young and we're still figuring out like which city and state we want to move to, right? Do you look into like a state being a blue or red state? Do you consider those factors before you move somewhere, or you don't care?
That's such a great point. I've been thinking about moving a lot for years since I graduated college. And that was one of the things I used to say. I want to move somewhere that is either more blue or more black. I need it to be diverse. I want there to be a good amount of black people, or I want it to in general be a more democratic progressive. And sometimes those things are not overlapping. A lot of the African Americans in America are living in the South, or on the Southeast. So I do take it into account, but at the end of the day, I could move to Boston, Massachusetts, which is a blue place, but there can still be a lot of like racism. So I do take it into account, but then I also understand that like I want to be, Kentucky is 90% white. I would love to move to a place that is more black too. So I do look at it, but I also look at other things when I'm thinking about moving.
So I've experienced both living in a red state and a blue state. And I can say that living in a blue state is more liberating and free, but sometimes like a lot of my friends and I were like, what is the agenda? You know, we see a lot of signs saying Black Lives Matter, people are progressive, LGBTQ community, very progressive, right? But then it's like, are you all being performative or are you being like real? So this is what you have to take into account if you decide to move into a particular type of state. But on the topic of that, I believe, is Michigan a blue state?
I feel like typically it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So in Detroit, right? No, Flint, Michigan, one of the
Flint.
city council, Eric Mays, passed away. Do you have any knowledge about Eric Mays? We know he's very outspoken, but do we have anything other than that about Flint and Eric Mays?
Mm, that's kind of all I know too. You know, we see a lot of his viral moments on social media. Being a city council member, he stands on business. You know, just bringing up some of the things that are important about Flint's infrastructure, about money not being allocated properly. Flint still does not have clean water after, has it been 10 years? You know, Flint still doesn't have clean water. So, you know, when I think about like city council, it's crazy that we're getting to an age where we can start thinking about joining city council. But when I think about city council, I guess I just never really understood like, oh, just how much say do they have? But this is someone that Eric Mays was someone that I think understood that he had a voice and that, you know, he could go in these meetings and, you know, be loud and outspoken about doing stuff for the people, you know. So
Very true point about like we're getting to that age where we can start running for these positions. I feel like to have a greater impact on us, if we're more involved locally, I think that might have a greater impact than what's going on federally. You know? Do you agree with that?
I do agree. I mean, just getting out and learning what's going on in the city can play such a big part. Um, you know, I feel like it could be like a trickle up effect, not a trickle down, but a trickle up effect. And you know, you meet people that you've never met. You might become good friends with a senator, and now you have perhaps some influence there. So you just never know.
Exactly. And again, I'm really into like just bettering myself and being more educated towards what's around me. What kind of resources do you use to stay in touch with politics and what's going on? Do you use TikTok?
So TikTok, you can pay attention to TikTok. Now it's important to fact check. You don't see it and immediately go, "Oh, that's it." Like I could see something on TikTok that makes me want to probe more. Now, what I will say when it comes to news, different news outlets, is that certain news outlets are more biased. Again, with the political spectrum, we have Fox News here on the Republican side, and we have MSNBC on the Democratic side, and then you have things that just fall in between. There's a great picture graph out there. Just search it up. You should be able to find it. What's it called? News outlets based on political ideation or bias or whatever. But I like to go for the more leftist
Mhm.
leftist outlets. That's just what I'm into and what I think is actually providing accurate information. There's been too many times where I've looked on Fox and there's like, I'm like, you can literally fact check that. I can Google that right now and you're wrong. So I do tend to stay away from that just off the mere fact of like the sheer fact of like they're wrong a lot of the times. So I do recommend just checking out those different outlets, news outlets. I'm trying to think, growing up in government class, we used to watch, I think it was MSNBC. There was this guy that would do like a 10-minute government video every day. It was like, I forgot his name. If you know, you know, though. He might have been CNN, actually, like student CNN. And I remember I used to definitely tune into him even after I wasn't in that government class anymore because it was a great way to get the information. And he knew how to like break it down for high schoolers to really be able to understand. So that's one thing. When it comes to actual like news outlets, like newspaper outlets, like New York Post or Daily Mail, I don't know anything like that. Again, just be understand that some of these sites are biased, so be mindful about what you're taking in.
It's crazy how the media can have such an influence on society. I know, like, yes, they can make us think a certain way, but for them to be able to control politics is kind of crazy. So I just find that crazy overall.
It is, but it's like, how else do we get the information if we're not turning on the TV or getting on the internet? I mean, there's been times where I have like the Alexa Echo, and I'll like click hide this post because I'm like, I just don't want to see it. Don't show me anything. I don't want to see it. But yeah, honestly, just reading a book sometimes.
Honestly, yeah,
Get you a history book and read. Read a damn.
come on. And like, here's the thing: I did not take some of these classes seriously in high school and middle school, but now I'm like, I should have paid more attention. Things would make more sense. So, yeah,
No, I agree. And for government, did you take a government class, or was it more like a unit in your, I don't know, humanities class or something?
I took a push in AP Euro, but with those classes, I get so focused on like passing the AP exam and stuff that I'm
Mhm.
not really applying it to like daily activities.
Absolutely same. But you know what? One thing, when I lived with my grandma, I probably cared a little more. Because grandparents are watching the news every day. I don't know about my mom definitely wasn't watching the news every day. So my grandma would be the one on the way to school. She's bringing up something. Oh, did you see such and such in the news? Well, no, I'm not watching the news, but hearing her and then pulling it up on my smartphone and searching and being like, oh, that is what's happening right now in the world. So for me, it might have been a generational thing. If I wasn't around my grandma, if I didn't have older history teachers, I'm like, all of my history, well, not all, quite a few of my history teachers were older white men, just saying. So, that's one perspective to look at it from. So,
Uh,
you know, that definitely controlled how I took in information about the government and what was going on in the world.
no, for sure. And I have an African mom, and she's in her 50s, but she has really picked up politics within the past 2, 3 years because all she watches now is like the news. So sometimes I'll try to like finesse and try to be like, say something crazy to her about what's going on. And she shuts me down. She has facts ready to like give me and stuff. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get to that level. Like she knows everything that's going on in the world. And I'm
That's
like,
the thing. They be in the know. And like, even when it comes to having like the news on your phone and sliding up or having the widget, I'm like, sometimes I just don't want to see it, but you make yourself look anyways.
and it gives you confidence. If anybody tells you something that's not accurate, you're like, you're wrong. You just don't accept every information that you hear.
For sure. But just one of the last things I wanted to touch on when it comes to the age limits of the presidency and just government positions in general, we saw where Mitch McConnell recently decided he was going to step back from some of his duties. And Biden, I don't see Biden being able, I don't know if I see Biden living through another.
No, you're right.
What do we think about that? The age limit. Do we
Okay.
need one?
No, no, no. I for sure think we need one because you cannot run for presidency until you're 35, but I think there should also be a cap at some point because I have watched Biden's speeches and some of them they don't make sense. Like it's hard for him to get through certain sentences and I'm like I don't know if this is old age, like medical conditions, what's going on. And personally, I feel like as a commander in chief, you need to be ready for anything. You're representing an entire country, entire population, so definitely think there should be an age limit on when you can run. What about you?
Me too. I acknowledge that I was being a bit hypocritical. I definitely was going to vote for Bernie, and Bernie is what, 84? Bernie's up there too, but obviously he's doing more, I don't know, Sudoku puzzles or something. His brain is more, the neuroplasticity is better than Biden. So that's why I felt comfortable being able to vote for him, but Biden is not there. The brain is deteriorating. After the age of 40, the volume of the brain decreases and it continues to decline at an accelerated rate after 70 years of age. His brain, baby, cerebral atrophy. I got to throw in some medical because I feel like he's there. I feel like he's there. I feel like dementia is at the door, and I want him to take a seat and step back. One thing we haven't talked about is Kamala, right?
Kamala.
Could she be the next? Do we know?
She could, and I think she's prepared and she can do it. She can become the president of the United States. But also, one thing we don't talk about is Trump. Trump is up there too. I think he's like 77. So
I know. He's so childish and immature that I never even thought he was that old. I'm not gonna lie. I was surprised when I searched up his age. I would have never thought he was near 80. He acts very childish. I thought he was 60.
no facts.
Yeah.
Kamala. I think she's ready, but is America ready for, a woman president?
I know. Why not? Has things have only declined.
Why not?
We could use the switch up. We probably need it.
And I wonder if this is gonna determine votes by November. If people realizes that like Biden might not be equipped to be president because of his age, they don't want Kamala to be president because she's a woman. How is this gonna sway the votes that we're gonna see in November?
I think we're going to see a lot of people just have no type of political affiliation at all. They're not going to vote at all. It's not about Trump's getting more votes. It's about he just happens to secure more over Biden because the ones that were going to vote for Biden decided they were done giving votes when shit doesn't change.
Man. And that's the thing. We vote for these people to see changes, but sometimes we do not see it in those 4-year terms.
For sure.
Do you have anything else you want to cover?
I don't. We just gonna see, girl. We gonna see what's gonna happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, comment down below and we will get back to you all. Bye.
Bye.